I think it gives your brand substance and it gives it that backing, that whether that's customer testimonials or, how you're using the product, I think it really adds to the content and the substance of your brand.
All right, welcome to the Wisenetix Podcast. I'm Daryl. I'm the host, and I'm also the head of sales here with Wisenetix. Today, I've got Allison Troesser with me. She is a marketing professional in the ag industry. Allison, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. The weekend is upon us. So, Allison, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am from small town, Northeast Missouri. Grew up on a livestock and row crop production farm. Very heavily involved in the pork industry through showing pigs for over 11 years, not to age myself, but yeah, very heavily involved with that. I just graduated from Oklahoma State University with my bachelor's in animal science. And for some reason, I added a food science minor on there. I think it was just an excuse to stay an extra semester. But after graduation, I headed up north to Wisconsin to work with Mentorship USA on their sales and marketing team. From there, after about 7 months, I ended up relocating back to Missouri, and now I work full-time for MFA Incorporated as their social media specialist. I still do part-time work for Minitube as their marketing assistant, obviously remote here in Missouri, though.
Awesome. Yeah, I am remote myself. Congrats on the graduation and the minor for that extra semester, as you said.
Yep.
What's it like showing pigs?
Crazy. It is. It's crazy. You've got a complete, I don't know. It's crazy. You've got weekends full of shows, and you don't take vacations because that's your show, or that's your vacation is the pig shows. And you've got people who spend $50 on pigs and people who spend $50,000. So the industry is really crazy. I would not change it for the world, though. It's my support system most days. So
fair enough. The crazy makes it fun.
It does. Makes life interesting.
Awesome. Well, we always start out every Wisenetix podcast with a few questions. What are your top 3 achievements, and what did you learn from those experiences?
Yeah, so my top achievement so far, since I'm just 22, don't have a lot of those on my resume yet, but would be graduation from Oklahoma State. It was something I knew I wanted to go to Oklahoma State as a sophomore in high school, and I was always kind of told, that's 7 hours away. No, you don't. This isn't what you want to do. But, I did it and I achieved it. And so that's a big accomplishment of mine. Another accomplishment I have, kind of in my back pocket is something I never thought I would achieve or go down the route of. So I think it's why I consider it one of my biggest ones. But in the first 6 months at Minitube, I increased their social media following by over 23%. So
wow.
Did I ever think I would say that? No, but it's something I never thought I would be able to do or do in the first place. So I consider it a big achievement. And then I wanted to kind of veer towards the experiences, and that one of those big experiences in my life is the show pig industry. It's my family away from my family. It's the home away from home, and I did age out last year, so it's been a little weird not being heavily involved in it, but definitely, one of those achievements that I took 11 years to accomplish, but an experience that I won't forget.
That's awesome. Congratulations again. And, you even said that show pigs were like your support.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yep.
How would your parents... Things. I bet we all need that in our lives, and I'm glad that you had it. Kind of before we jump into more businessy, fun questions type things, everybody gets to answer this. Everyone kind of has a very similar, different answer. But how would your parents describe what you do right now?
Yeah, so I was looking at this question earlier, and I think my parents could tell you, my titles in my roles, social media specialist or marketing assistant. but I do not think that they could tell you what I do my day to day. I think they would very general tell you that I post on social media and that I do a little bit of graphic design in there too. So nothing super detailed, but at least they're a little tuned in.
That's great to have them tuned in like that. I'm waiting for the one person to say their parents think something absolutely crazy. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Kind of switching gears a little bit here, Allison, and getting into some marketing questions that I always find interesting, and especially from you, since you're pretty, you're the new blood into the marketing industry. What are the main changes in marketing that you've seen since digital media and the internet really became part of people's lives?
Yeah, so I think the change in marketing is everyone's got to shift towards, finding that dynamic of, do you want to market to your older generation that has made your company successful, or do you want to market towards your younger generation that's going to continue to make your company successful? So finding that medium in there, because today you can reach both of those generations through social media, specifically in my role. So finding that happy medium in there, I think, has been a big change for a lot of companies, at least that I've seen, in the last, I guess I've been almost working for about a year in my big girl roles.
I love that you said big girl roles. That cracks me up. Building on that a little bit, is there a different platform that the different generations are on? So you have to kind of work on multiple fronts, or would you say focusing on one is what you see as the strategy going forward?
Yeah, so with my experience with MFA, ManyTube is a little different because I had just gotten into it, but with MFA, we run on almost every single platform besides TikTok and Snapchat. So it's and it's still a little bit of a learning curve that I'm going through right now, but figuring out that certain things need to be posted on LinkedIn versus certain things need to be posted on Facebook. So finding that dynamic, because your younger generation is mainly involved on Instagram, but not everything needs to be involved on or posted on Instagram, but you still want that involvement with the younger generation. But not everything needs to be posted on LinkedIn that has been posted on Facebook. So really finding that dynamic and reaching all those audiences has been a little bit of a task, but I wouldn't change it. So
I love it. And great insight on that as well. Yeah, my daughters are all about the TikTok and Snapchat.
Yeah.
I don't need any of that. So also kind of really continuing to build on kind of like the social media aspect of it. Do you think producing and sharing technical content is important for a brand right now, and why or why not?
Yes, I do. I think it gives your brand substance and it gives it that backing, that whether that's customer testimonials or, how you're using the product, I think it really adds to the content and the substance of your brand.
Gotcha. So it really brings it depth and gives it like a lot of body and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I think it's more relatable than, your static graphics. They want to see the farmer talking about, how this product has worked on his operation and how it could possibly migrate to your operation and work just as well.
Sure. Stories tell a lot of great things rather than just looking at numbers.
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you. If I see numbers, I'm going to sleep. Moving a little bit more into maybe more general business or like productivity questions. And these are things that I always find really interesting because I'm always in I feel like learning should be continual. And I also love seeing kind of how everybody else has learned and how they were kind of brought, up. So I always like to ask this. Did you have like a professional mentor that mentored you and kind of helped guide you into the industry?
So I kind of fell into the marketing out of luck through ManyTube. I really interviewed for a sales position, and they were like, "Hey, what about marketing also?" Just because I've done that in the personal experience. So not before I got to ManyTube, there wasn't, but once I started at ManyTube, about two people come to mind. So that would be the director of sales. His name is Joel. And then my direct marketing manager, Abby. They really saw the elementary experience that I had with personal marketing, and they really let me run with it, and they really helped, encourage me, even though I didn't have the training on Adobe before I got there, and they encouraged my ideas, and they, were a big helping hand when it came to the marketing side of my job.
Awesome. So they gave you a lot of rope and said, go out there and play.
They did. It was pretty awesome. And they still do it now, and I'm very thankful. It's kind of kept me grounded in the moving process.
Sure, that's awesome. And I'm sure that that's a great way to learn, right in the frying pan, but go after it.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm so glad they let you do that. And, it's important. And that's one way that you get a lot of experience and learning done real quickly, especially if you're the one who's doing all of it.
Yep.
So I'm sure you've learned some lessons from that. What's a lesson that you learned from either Minitube or even at MFA right now that you think everybody should really learn?
Yes, that teamwork is key, especially in the marketing industry and the communication side. Everyone has awesome ideas. How do we incorporate them all into one? Or in my case, if you misspell something, you need someone to look over that before it gets posted on social media. So that teamwork and collaboration, is, I think, something that has really helped me personally learn, and I think really helps make a company successful when it comes to their marketing and communications department.
That's awesome. I hate this phrase, but it's so true. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, it is true.
It sounds so hokey, but it's so true. It really is. We can go so much farther with other people than we can by ourselves.
I agree. So that's a great way to word that.
I wish I could take credit for that. That was actually someone else. But it's something that really stuck with me when I first heard it. And every time I rehear it, I always hear it from people that I view very highly. It's true. We really can. Kind of doing like a circle back question here. Did you always want to be in marketing or a marketer?
So no. Hence why I got my degree in animal science. It was always kind of something I did on the side. I actually make custom show supplies for the show pig industry and a couple cattle people also. But so it's always been something that I've kind of played with, and it's always been something that I've done on the side, but never once, coming from small town rural Missouri, marketing was not something that had ever been talked about. It was not something that was ever touched on, so I just went down the animal science route because that's, what my past was in the show pig industry. Sure. So it was very different that I am in a marketing position. If you ask people around, it's not something that's super common. It's something I think that could be really keyed in on, in the industry around here. But also, if you ever would have asked me if I was going to be a social media specialist, I absolutely would have told you never in my life. Because I have my personal accounts on social media, but it's not something that I'm, posting on every day or looking at analytics from. But since I do that full time now, it's pretty fun, pretty crazy considering I went and got an animal science bachelor's and running social medias now. But
there you go. Now you're in the thick of it.
Yep. That's a great analogy. Yep.
You mentioned that you made show supplies. What are those show supplies for, like pig shows and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my main part of the show supplies is show brushes. I do like custom. It's an epoxy top, and I customize them for people. I've recently gotten into pump up sprayers, and then and I do cups for people too. So.
Oh, that's really cool. So it's something you still do as like a side hustle.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes I take on more than what I can chew, but
I've been there before. I ordered. There's a restaurant nearby that does like a 5-pound steak challenge, and I was very hungry, and I was like, "Oh, I can get this for free, no problem." I could not. I paid a lot more for that than I should have, and I'm still paying for it in in just getting clowned today. But what is one piece of advice that you would give someone who is now starting out in your career? Like, say, the people graduating behind you, what's a piece of advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, find the people that support you and make you the most successful in your role. Whether that's through a mentorship or, your friend that's also in marketing, find those people and ask a lot of questions and have people double check your work before it gets out there.
That's for me too. I am the guy who will post something that's spelled wrong and then hey, you spelled that wrong. I'm like, let me fix that. And then I have to go back and do it. So that's great advice, especially just starting out. And if you're old like me, have another pair of eyes makes everything better. So great advice there. And if you could be remembered for one thing, Allison, what would that thing be?
Yes, so that would be leaving an impactful, what was the word I was looking for? Positive impact, that's what I was looking for, on the agriculture industry. In my future, I hope to get more detailed into the pork industry a little bit more, just because that's where my heart lies, but just an overall positive impact on the agriculture industry.
Awesome. I love that. That's what we do here at Wisenetix as well, is we just want a big positive impact. We do it through knowledge dissemination. So everybody needs that. So awesome answer. And then kind of wrapping it up here, Allison, where can everybody find you online?
Yes, so I am on all social media platforms. It's a little different. So LinkedIn is under Allison, my full name. My Facebook and Instagram are under my nickname of Allie, Allly, and then my last name. But my LinkedIn is Allison, so that should be easy to find with Troesser.
Awesome. Well, find her there on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place. I don't know if I'd go around the Facebook route, but Allison, so nice having you on the podcast today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, no problem. And then, guys, we'll see you next week. This has been the Wisenetix Podcast with Allison Troesser. You guys have a great one.